I was never ashamed to be Iranian. I think after 9/11, it was very difficult saying and being proud of the fact that you're Middle Eastern, or Iranian's not really Middle Eastern, but it's generally grouped in that area, because so many people had previous ideas about who you were and what values you had. But I never really felt that it was that difficult. A lot of people are very open, but I think that's also because of where I'm from Bay Area. So that's very, very accepting and actually very interested in my cultural diversity. And also at Tufts, I think that a lot of the students here are very, very interested in your background and interested in how different you are. However, with the recent events and the election, I think that I feel attacked, because I didn't really know how many people hated who we were. I didn't realize that there was so much hate and racism in this country. I thought that that was just a reaction after 9/11 and that it kind of subsided, but I was wrong.
In like middle school, I'd say is like when I started like having sexual feelings about like my best, like some of my friends. It's like, what? This is wrong. I can't be gay. No, bye. Like, but I think as time went on, like, you know, as the culture of like America, honestly, like as America changed, like to be more like friendly toward, you know, LGBT spectrum, it's like I slowly started to realize that like I can't do this anymore. I can't like keep putting on this front. So I just like said, okay, I'll start simple. I'm like bisexual. And then like you start learning more and you start talking to like other people. It's like, but the gender binary is dumb. So it's like, no wait, pansexual. That like feels good.
I have a lazy eye. I was born with it. And one of my happiest memories to this day is the day that I found out that I didn't have to wear a patch anymore. Growing up, it was like a very painful experience wearing that, mentally and physically. But my sister was really awesome. She would like sometimes wear one with me or draw eyeballs on it. But I just hated it. I felt so weird. Obviously, like wearing a patch is not a super normal thing that a lot of people have to go through. And it also just sucked because I couldn't see when I was wearing it. So the day that I found out, it was like a weird doctor like plaza, this place that I went to, and the halls were all glass windows, and I'll never forget walking through to my car and I was just like sobbing. I was so happy that I didn't have to wear it anymore, and my mom was so pumped for me too, and I think we like went out to get pizza after, and I will never forget that moment.
My senior year of high school, I had come out as trans, let me think, like the summer before, I want to say junior year. And then my senior year, a bunch of alumni sent out an email to other alumni about how they didn't like, I went to a private boarding school, so it was like very connected to the alumni because they paid for the school basically. And they sent out an email about how they didn't like the direction that the school was going in, and they listed a bunch of things. They didn't like how many students of color there were. They thought there were too many. They didn't like that we didn't honor legacy anymore. They didn't like that our student body president was a black lesbian. And then they didn't like that I specifically was there and that the school was accepting of my alternative lifestyle. That's a direct quote. Haven't forgotten it since. And it, because there are so many students at the school who have family and friends who are alumni, because even though they don't honor legacy, they pretty much do. At some point, everybody on campus had read the letter. All the teachers had read the letter. The principal had read the headmaster had read the letter. And so just like everybody was, I just felt like everybody was looking at me a lot of the time and looking at my principal, headmaster, and looking at my friend who was the president, because we were all called out so directly. And people like would like ask me if I was okay, and at the beginning I felt okay, and then the more people asked me about it, the more I was like, this is a really big deal and really uncomfortable, and I really hate this. And I just felt very exposed. for a very long time because I had come out over a year ago. So like it had all kind of settled down by then, and people were using the right name and the right pronouns for the most part. But it just kind of like brought everything back up.
Did you see that kid?
No. No, what happened?
It was honestly one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
And smile.
Oh my god.
My family is broken. My family is poor, but funny and nice.
My sister was born, and most people don't know this, but she was born with a collapsed airway, so she couldn't eat, breathe. She had sleep apnea, so she would basically stop breathing and start suffocating in her sleep a lot. So at the time, for the first couple of years of my sister's life, I actually did not live with my parents. I lived with my cousins just because my mom and my sister were in the hospital, and my dad was working and he was traveling the world, so he wasn't around. And it was a tough time. But to me, I have such a great family that it was easy for me to just kind of go with the flow and look on to the next one. But at the same time, like I saw my mom, she had ovarian cancer. So it was right after my sister was born. Now she's in a wheelchair. Now she's battling something after, or simultaneously trying to battle all these challenges for my sister. Like we had nurses that lived in my house for the first 13 years of my life. My sister, the only way she could eat was having food injected into her stomach, which was bizarre. But to me, this was just normal. Like I was like, okay, well, if this is what's happening here, then this is what must be happening at everyone else's house. And to me, it wasn't weird. Like there'd be times where I would wake up, get woken up at like 2 a.m. and be like, Tucker, your uncle's gonna come pick you up, and we're taking your sister to the hospital right now. Like there's an ambulance outside. And to me, I was just like, all right, well, going to my cousin's house again. And those multiple journeys basically made me live at my cousin's house for 2 years, because you never knew when my sister would need to go to the hospital, or she would be in the hospital for extended periods of time. So I grew really, really close with my cousins. I would say that kind of helped me recognize the situation and recognize that there was something going wrong in the situation. But at the same time, my cousins were so supportive and so awesome that they made me feel good about it and not worry.
I felt rejected and felt like I didn't matter. And I think that that's how I felt with my father. And so when it came to the point in the relationship that I was starting to feel those feelings again, I was just like, I can't. And like after like communicating that to that person, it's just like I can't sit here and have you love me only when you have the time.
Up until kind of like, yeah, honestly, college age was my like way of getting through life, was like shutting out all emotions. My friends in high school actually called me black-hearted, not because I didn't like care and love for them all, but because the second that anything was like negative or they like wanted to talk anything out, I was just like, I don't know what the problem is. Like nothing. Like I just didn't let anything faze me, which I think makes me like very selective in who I bring into my life.
I think that like as much as I missed him, like this person that I was with, and as much as I like thought that the only thing that would make me feel better was being with him, I think what I realized like later on, much later on, was that the thing that was actually really, really bothering me and making it so painful was that I like lost the person that I was with him. And as much as I missed having him, I think I missed like the person that he brought out in me so much more. And I know that like nothing about love is mathematical, but it like took me years to figure out ways to just feel that okay again and that confident again and that capable again.
I get really afraid when my family like doesn't answer my phone calls, and it's really irrational because a lot of times they're just busy. They'll be at work or just sleeping, doing something, and happens a lot because of time differences. But sometimes I just get this very irrational fear that something bad's happened. And I think it's just the fact that like I've had to pick up the phone and something bad has happened when I just didn't see it coming. And in those moments, I like feel like a 5-year-old again, and I feel so helpless.
I think like in high school, I never thought I'd be this old. I've like had really hard mental health issues from when I was like 9. So everything kind of seemed in the short term for me. And I think this is like the first time I'm really thinking like 4 years ahead. So it's weird because it's like in this dystopic way, but it's like so, it seems optimistic to me almost.
I think fear is so mundane for me these days. We grew up very afraid most of the time. So it's kind of second nature for that kind of emotion to be dulled and just second nature, if you will. But recognizing now that like there are some limitations to my success or the things that I want to do or the people that I want to love or how I want to love, yeah, that's kind of fear manifests itself very, very differently in my life, and I don't think it's like the typical form of fear, if that makes sense.
I became like part of a single mom family in 8th grade. And then, so that was like probably what felt like the first major loss. And then my freshman, sophomore year of college, within the span of a year, my cat died, which I know sounds really silly, but he was probably like, I considered him my best friend, and that was the first time I'd ever cried in front of anyone at Tufts, and I just like lost my shit. And then shortly after that, my mom became really sick, and within that year, she actually passed away. And then 2 weeks after that, my other cat died. So within a year, I kind of felt like I had lost what was deemed like my actual like quote family, like the people that I lived with. But I also have always had a very like alternative sense of family because of like my background. So even though I was losing what was maybe like societally considered my family, I still feel like I have one of like the biggest best families ever. And one of my like mentors in high school always gets to remind me that, or always reminds me that I'm lucky because I got to pick my family, and like not many people get to do that. So
I mean, with the election, I feel like I've lost a part of my future. I really thought that I was going to work for this country and represent it abroad, but now I don't feel like I represent any of the interests, nor I can. So I think that it's taken away a lot of the things that I wanted to do, my dreams. And I know it's only 4 years, but I'm scared of the cultural change that it'll bring to this country. And so I don't know if I can represent it in the future, and I'm questioning what it means to be an American right now.
as bad as things can get, I'll always look forward to the little wins in life. And they come in so many different ways. It can be the smallest little thing of someone like bringing you a cookie, right? And like in that, if you're really upset and something bad's happened, those moments mean so much. And I think those moments keep me going. And there are really big things. There's getting into college, graduating, getting a job. Like those are huge things that kind of give you hope for the future and make people proud of you, like make your family proud of you. But the little moments as well, I think they mean just as much, even though they're not as impactful.
I got really interested in this idea of rebirth, reincarnation, and like Buddhist philosophy a couple summers ago. I don't consider myself Buddhist, but I just like was interested in reading about it, and the actual process of reading and learning about it very much helped me with a lot of like personal mental health issues that I'd been dealing with, and like this achieving this wider, greater outlook on life.
I feel like my life's overarching narrative is like, no matter how shitty things get, like as long as I trust myself, I can get out of my situation, you know? Like narrative of like, I had a relationship where my like significant other lived in the same dorm as me, and that was really horrible. And then I thought it was over, and then my mom got cancer, and that was really horrible, and I thought it was over, and then like my cat died, and then like all this horrible stuff kept happening, and then like I cut all my hair off, and then I did a monologue in front of like 600 people, and I like have always had social anxiety and depression and all this stuff, and then like my parents were telling me how proud they were of me, and like despite everything that I thought they would like be disappointed in me for, or like would have had higher expectations for me, I like just had to stop and have faith in myself and my ability to pull myself out of those situations, you know. And if there's anything, any message from my own story that I would want to be disseminated, it would be to be like, you're okay. You're always okay. I mean, sometimes it seems like you're really not okay, but if you trust yourself, I think you're okay. I really, really always think you are, you know? I mean, for some people it's harder than others, and I had a kind of medium situation, and I'm sure other people have had way harder situations, but I think like the faith and trust for me in myself has been paramount, you know?